Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast.
It's a podcast. It's about the Patriots. It's the Tom Curran podcast, also starring Phil Perry. Phil, hey, as you can see, Phil is in Needham in the podcast room. I am at the home office down here on the south coast of Massachusetts. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for being along. Light work today, just a walkthrough for the Patriots down at Gillette Stadium. We did see Carlton Davis. He can walk. He can walk with the jersey on. Just a walkthrough, though. Garrett Bradbury, the center, on the field again today. Javon Baker mixed in with the ones a little bit in walkthrough, but by the time it was done, Efton Chisholm had walked through with the ones, and so had Jalen Polk. So I don't know if that's noteworthy for old Javon, but Phil, our friend Greg Bedard from the Boston Sports Journal, said that this is the easiest camp he's seen in all his born years. He also noted that he hopes Mike Vrabel knows what he's doing. It's a little Barney Fife tone to that whole thing. Anyway.
That's
Phil,
a reference everybody's picking up on YouTube Live.
I don't give a shit. Sorry. I'm going to be candid and drop an S-bomb right now. If you don't know who Barney Fife is,
I'm trying to get you fired up.
Google it. Demand you Google it and look for the greatest Barney Fife, because he was a gifted comedian. Is this that easy a camp? It's certainly a lot easier than last year with Gerard Mayo, who beat those guys to a pulp en route to a 4-13 season. But I saw an awful lot of relaxed Bill camps in the last 3 or 4 years. I will give Greg this. I have seen no full contact down to the ground goal line situations, which we would often see. Phil, your turn.
No, we didn't see any of that. We haven't seen any of that. We did see some of that last year. We also saw a lot of hill running last year. Remember after that win over Cincinnati in week 1? Where it was, take him to the hills, baby! That didn't last real long. But we haven't seen, I don't know if the hill's been used, Tom, quite frankly. I got a good view of them today. I was on 98.5 The Sports Hub, so we're up on the ramp there. Nice high view. I don't know, what's that, 100 feet over the field? Beautiful look at the hills, and they were in pristine condition. They looked like a fairway. It looked like the kind of fairway you might be chipping off of, I don't know, in a matter of hours, less than that.
I don't know. No early edition for me today.
You're at
so
home. I know why you're excited. You're at home. You're at home. No early edition, no TV. Nice light day for TC. Gets a light day before the joints tomorrow. Joints is a big day. So we got to dial it down, then we ratchet it back up. Dial it down, ratchet back up.
So that's one thing that I noted, because we had a little conversation on our email chain. Boy, that's kind of nuts. They're having a walkthrough, and has this been that easy? They just went for 220 yesterday in a heavy practice. They were not tackling to the ground, but there was a lot going on. There is not, though, now that I think about it, there's not been as much situational pressure ratcheted up on these guys in terms of what we saw. I think tomorrow should change. I want to see a lot of situational work. I want to see a lot of driving the football down the field, where you start on your own 20 and try and put a drive together. I'd like to see football like that, Phil.
Yeah, I would too.
I'm hoping to see some of that.
I would too, and I think the offense, when it's had its issues, it's been in some of those situational football types of moments. It's been in the red zone. It's been in 2-minute. So, they can look great in 7-on-7. They can look great middle of the field. But unless they can execute in those spots, and now they'll get a chance to do it against a team that's not loaded with stars, quite frankly, on the defensive side, but this is a team that was good enough to make it to the NFC Championship game last year. Accomplished head coach on the other side. That to me is worthy of note, and there'll be plenty of takeaways for tomorrow. I think, the most exciting part for fans will be, okay, we got a chance to see one of the best quarterbacks in football. He's only in his second year, but we get to see one of the best quarterbacks in football come to town. And
J.J. McCarthy?
Let's see if we can stop it.
Before we go on to some sound from Jabril Peppers, who, as always, is really good in front of the mic, before we go to Jabril, I want to ask you, Phil, I don't think that I'm making myself clear in myriad situations, whether it be on early edition last night with Jones and Keefe today on WEEI, which when that's happening, it lends one to believe that maybe they're the problem, the messaging. I'm trying to say that the Patriots, quote unquote, struggles offensively are not really struggles. They're just water finding its normal level Friday wasn't a struggle offensively. There were a couple of mistakes on offense between each of the three quarterbacks, each of the three offenses. Monday wasn't a struggle, like overwhelmed, steamrolled offense couldn't find its ass with both hands situation. They just didn't light it up. They had their plays here and there, but generally speaking, you'd go the needle was 60-40. I'm not seeing what I would term a struggling offense going into this Washington Commanders practice, which the reason I ask is, we do this stuff day to day, and we are lucky enough to be charged with analyzing day to day. And I think if you're a consumer, because we're a day-to-day tell you how it went today, we might lose track of the fact that yesterday was really good, today wasn't as good. Doesn't mean yesterday was really good, today wasn't as good, today sucked. I don't think they sucked. Phil?
I would say Friday was a struggle. It's Friday, you had the top offense, 2 picks and 1 fumble in a night where they probably had 4 drives. So like that,
you're right.
That's a struggle.
But on the pick and the fumble, like Stevenson was like 12 yards downfield. Yes, it's a massive struggle when you drop it. But they had just completed 2 passes before the Diggs pick, which was a misfire.
Yeah,
so I just don't see them. I guess I define struggle by the shit that we've been watching for 2 years, and I will not swear anymore. You're just getting rototill.
You're sounding like Mike Vrabel now, talking about Ramondre Stevenson. Well, it was a good cut before he dropped the ball.
I'm busting.
It was no. To me, that's a rough practice. I don't know how. I can't slice it any other way. You're right about yesterday. Yesterday to me was a struggle at the end in the low red zone where it's tight and it's hard, and he went 1 for Drake May in the top offense, and they're mostly throwing the ball. It went 1 for 6 to start that low red zone period.
Yeah,
those are 4-point plays you're missing out on. You're kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. That's not incredible execution. But before that, I believe I had him as 7 for 10 in the 11 on 11s, 8 for 11 in the 11 on 11s before that low red zone period. That's good. That's finding completions. That's keeping the football out of the other team's hand. That's avoiding sacks, which he was able to do for the most part. I thought, 2 of the best throws of the day were the 2 bombs down the sideline to TreVeyon Henderson. So that practice, yesterday's practice, overall, I think you're right. We're sort of conflating Friday and Monday into one, boy, is this offense in trouble sort of sandwich. It's just there had been more to pick apart in both of those practices than previously. That's all.
And it's funny, even in the 1 for 6, I guess I'm an excuse maker. And until they suck, I usually, I'm usually the last one to go over, and I'm pretty patient. Once I go. But like even yesterday, the first incompletion in the 11 on 11 kind of low red zone. It was a May misfire to Hunter Henry out on the left, kind of an out going down the seam. He was moving towards the sideline, and May just threw it wide. Henry was only able to get one hand on it. Ball goes down. It's just like, oh, okay, well, he was open. He just missed him by, 3-4 feet. It wasn't like into the friggin' cheerleaders. It wasn't like he was sprinting out. So
no. And sometimes like Hoyer's talked to us about this. Sometimes there will be throws where where you're going with the football, and the guy might be covered, and you're putting it in a place where you're saying to yourself, like in that instance, it probably was first down. I have the throw that you're looking at now. It was kind of their last sequence of the low red zone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If it's first down and Hunter Henry's covered, but that's the read and you decide to go there, you're going to put it somewhere where it's either my guy gets it or nobody gets it. Like I'm not risking a turnover here. We've got 3 points on the board, even if we get 0 yards on this drive because we're already in the red zone. So, I think there is some context for some of those misses. And I didn't even think, a lot of when the offense has failed or stalled or, had fits and starts, and maybe I'm making excuses for Drake May. I guess that tends to be my MO. I just come back to this receiver room, and I just don't think they're very good, Tom. And so if you can't create separation against DJ James and Alex Austin, like that to me is a problem. And a lot of the incompletions are, well, he's throwing to somebody, but there's somebody all over him. And maybe he's starting to get used to that being his reality in 2025, is that he's going to be thrown into a lot of tight windows, which I think is going to be the case, unfortunately, for him.
Yeah, and that's what Jones and Keith kind of used as a trump card. I mean, who's he throwing against? It's second teamers. I'm like, well, they're NFL players. And round you go. And the next thing you know, we're on to another day and we all get paid. Jabril Peppers had this to say about the incoming Commanders and the excitement in the locker room and how this team wants to play against Washington.
And just go out and have fun. You know, don't leave no stone unturned. Don't dip your toe in the water. You know, they're evaluating this film as if it's a game. You know, it's a lot of great players on that side of the ball, and they want to see you go out and compete, and they want to see you win your matchups. You know, those guys get paid too, but, you know, we want to see only good things on tape. So, you know, that's going to be my mindset. That's going to be my message.
You don't have to look too much in the rear view, but last year you guys had Philly in here, and it didn't go so high, at least on one side of the ball. Do you look at this and say, look, this is a good measuring stick in where we are and where we're headed?
You know, anytime you get a playoff team to come to practice against you or play them to see how you measure up, you know, against the against the talent that they have over there, you know, it's a great opportunity for you. So, you know, we're going to be focused. I know they're going to be focused, so it should be a good time.
Casey Keene, thank you for cutting that up. Phil, who has the most at stake? I'm going to give you some options here against the Commanders. Is it Drake May? Is it Will Campbell? Is it Josh McDaniels / the offensive line? Or is it the Patriots pass rush? And you can go whichever direction you like. Those were just some options that I thought of because those are my leading 4 to 5.
Yeah, the most at stake, I don't think there are jobs up for grabs, quite frankly, on the Patriots offensive line.
No.
But I think there's the most pressure on them to perform. Because I think in a practice like this one tomorrow, what you really would love to see if you're the Patriots is an ability to just be competent up front. That means creating some space in the run game. I thought for a second we might have had a fire drill on our hands, Tom. I quite frankly had no idea what was going on right there. Just a high-pitched beep right in my ear hole. But yes, thank you for the ding, Jeremy. That's number one. It's the offensive line and Josh McDaniels. I think there's a lot of pressure on them to be able to put together a representative NFL offense. I want to see them run the ball well tomorrow, and I don't need to see them win every pass rush rep. They should win their fair share, though, Tom. This is not a team, Washington, that's loaded with unbelievable pass rush talent, so they should win their fair share. It's not going to be perfect, but win their fair share and keep Drake May clean.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And so far, I think most people have said it's Drake May. To me, he's already a good player. He's going to continue to be a good player, even if he goes 4 for 16 with 3 picks. It won't be a good week for him after that. But you know that it's in there. It's established that he can play professional football at a decent level and should get better. I think if it's the offensive line, it's like, holy crap, Morgan Moses is getting run around. Holy crap, Jared Wilson looks like he's still at Georgia. Holy crap, Will Campbell is getting undone. So you need to see those guys, I think, play at a certain level. 2, I think the pass rush, and if they're going to be going to the ground, which they probably won't, Phil, right? Be thud. But I think the defensive line needs to show that it can, A, create some kind of a pass rush, and B, our guy Tonga and company and Barmore can not have people at the second level untouched.
I really like the focus on the defensive line because I think against this quarterback in particular, where speed is such a factor, and you are going to see athletes throughout the course of the season at that position, I really want to see what's their level of discipline up front. And that's not a fun thing to talk about when you're talking about getting a pass rush. And especially you want to see, Christian Barmore. You really didn't see him much last year. You want to see the shiny new toy, Milton Williams, get after a quarterback not named Drake May. But one thing that Williams said last week, Tom, that stood out to me as interesting was he was comparing and contrasting the schemes in Philadelphia under Vic Fangio, longtime defensive guru, versus what they're doing right now. And he says under Fangio, we used to have to read it out a little bit. And even up front, as aggressive as they were in Philly, they had to understand what was happening in front of them and then react. He said here, we're not reading a damn thing. It's just flying up the field. It's all about getting off the ball and being aggressive. And that's great. And that can cause chaos. And that, hopefully for their sake, with the personnel that they have, that will lead to disruption. But against a really athletic quarterback, if you're just flying up the field, that can leave some massive, massive running lanes. And so I just wonder training camp, Tom, you're not expecting the quarterbacks to be scrambling all that much. But if there are those wide open, gaping running lanes, that to me would be a little bit of cause for concern, because if you're doing it against Jaden Daniels in practice, are you doing it twice a year against Josh Allen in real games that matter, and you're killing yourselves on 3rd and long.
So here's what a front four looked like under Bill Belichick. Ball snapped. They're moving around. They're holding their ground. They're two-gapping. Okay?
What is happening?
Here's what an attacking front looks like sometimes. Okay? Guys looping in here. Okay, watch. Here comes Harold Landry. Whoop! There goes Milton Williams. Okay? There goes Jaden Daniels, right where Harold Landry was.
Yeah.
Whoop! Whoop. So that's an old-ass hand.
But, boy, you're a dexterous fella.
I was surprised it worked like that.
I just want to describe for the audio-only people out there, Tom just held his pale-ass hand in front of the camera and started wiggling his fingers around like they were 4 down defensive linemen. His pinky, I'm pretty sure, was Keon White, and I'm not sure what was happening there, but he had all sorts of different combinations. That was an impressive display by you.
Keeper. Wow. My hand now looks like Uncle Leo's. Uncle Leo lived to a ripe old age up there in Rutland, Vermont. But I realized that as I was doing it. So, Phil, that is an issue that the Patriots are going to have to confront. Also, Will Campbell. So we're going to pay really close attention. It's going to be a high-stakes practice for the media, too. Honestly, we really get into this. And Phil's going to be out in Philadelphia next week when they're with the Minnesota Vikings with the J.J. McCarthy. So you're going to see 3 of the best young quarterbacks in the National Football League with Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and, of course, the best of the lot, J.J. McCarthy. Interesting to see Javon Baker continue to show not just signs of life. He's not just fogging up the mirror as you hold it in front of his face. He's actually upright and taking liquids now. Okay? So he was in the walkthrough with the ones, but I'm starting to think we're now in the Kayshon Boutte, Kendrick Bourne squabble is over. We're now in a Baker versus Bourne situation. It goes Chisholm, Polk, Bourne, Baker, Boutte from the bottom up.
Boutte from the bottom up got me confused. Yeah, I would say that here's my read. I think you've got 3 guys contending for 1 spot. And I think it's Baker, surprisingly. Hey, call for what it is. He's been one of the surprises of camp. He does make a contested catch, it feels like, just about every day. He was running around out there with Drake May. I haven't seen that before, so it's worth noting. Let's see if he actually gets a target from the guy tomorrow. Jalen Polk, and then maybe on the outside, Efton Chisholm. I'm not sure Kendrick Bourne's in the... Tom, he's hurt. He's hurt, and I had him sort of on the outside looking in even before that. Do you think this is potentially it for the Kendrick Bourne era in New England?
I know that won't be an easy conversation for the New England Patriots to have with a guy. They've had to have it millions of times with people as electric as Troy Brown, for instance. So, but if you have to have it, you have to have it. Be too bad. He's still got gas in the tank, oil in the engine, sand in his pants, but if you get boxed out, you get boxed out. Meanwhile, another guy who has been on the receiving end of some scrutiny throughout this offseason for us is Kyle Duggar. He just carries a big cap hit. They gave him a new contract last year, which would have made sense if he played up to it, because in 2022 is one of the best safeties in football. They gave him a big contract, I think, said, okay, well, we couldn't bring anybody in, so let's re-up a bunch of these guys, and hopefully they'll be good lieutenants for us here in the locker room and carry our message forward for Gerard Mayo. It didn't work out last year, and he's had a very quiet camp. And Duggar, it seems, is cognizant of the fact that he needs to do more in these training camp practices because he's been awful quiet. Here's Kyle Duggar.
I have a lot of work to do, a lot of areas to get better in, and to be able to help this defense. So that's how I think about it. And so I'm not really trying to think about it specifically to that, but I just have a lot of ways I can get better and to help the team.
So he's probably not a trade candidate because of the massive size of his contract. Is he being outplayed at all by any combination of Marcus Epps and Jalen Hawkins and who's my other guy, Craig Woodson, at this juncture where would make him expendable? Or do you want a guy like that who is a tremendous athlete, who is a good leader, who is still trying to roll it back and find himself? Where would you be on Kyle Duggar? Again, he would be a difficult release, but you kind of do need a little bit more zip from a guy who's your second highest paid player.
Yeah, we just haven't seen, Tom, I can't think of a standout kind of positive play that he's made in camp. There probably is one he could show me on tape. He's right there in the hole for a run stuff, 3 days ago. I can't remember a deflection, certainly not a pick, certainly not one of those moments where, you always catch these too. We see a pass play and there's a completion and the crowd cheers, and you're the first person to say to me, Jabril Peppers would have taken that guy's head off. That, his soul would have been removed from his body if this been a fully contacted kind of practice. We don't even really see those from. I don't even see him really around the ball. So those other guys that you mentioned, I can remember, like even Marcus Epps, who I have not had, I don't think, on any version of our 53-man roster conversation. Even I've seen around the ball a little bit. And I say, hey, I feel like I notice him every 2 or 3 practices. Craig Woodson's out there as the personal protector on the punt team, which is a really critical role in special teams. Mm-hmm. And he's a 4th-round pick. He's going to be on the team. Jalen
Hawkins would be the guy who would probably – is Jalen Hawkins the guy who would –
might bump him? I guess it's possible because he's a core 4 guy. Now, Duggar plays a lot of special teams, or has in the past. And maybe that's kind of ends up being his saving grace, aside from the fact that, you'd be eating a lot of dead money if you were to release him. But he's just been so quiet, Tom, that, and I wonder, do you think he's still bothered by the injury? He just doesn't look like the explosive athlete that we're used to seeing.
I should have gone over the cap and looked at the numbers on releasing him or trading him and trying to take money back. But yeah, I'd feel terrible if the guy was released just because I just thought first, I think he's a hard-working guy, and I always feel bad when a guy just goes from there to there with very little in between. But yeah, I think you have to scrutinize it if you're the Patriots right now. But again, is it cutting off your nose to spite your face, and with that kind of a decision? But we're going to look for him to see if he has any kind of relevance this week against Washington. One more thing before we go, because I'm going to jump out of here, is I do want to add in one rookie that we haven't talked about yet today, and that's TreVeyon Henderson. And really looking forward to seeing how he performs in one-on-ones and in some of the situations against the Commanders, because he's starting to come on a little bit. Here's Christian Ellis, just audio only, speaking about TreVeyon Henderson when I asked him about him today.
He's been an amazing addition to this team. I see nothing but greatness in him. I think he's going to do amazing in this league. I can't speak highly enough of him. He even got me on a go route the other day that I honestly wasn't expecting out of him, and he just keeps showing that he can play, and I think he's going to help this team.
He was holding his son. Great job there, Casey, on editing that up, and thank you to Jeremy, our producer. So we're going to focus on Henderson. He'll be an interesting matchup, Phil, because that's one of the elements of dynamism Patriots have been missing.
No doubt. So explosive athlete. Every time he touches it, Tom, I feel like you notice his burst. It feels like he's moving at a little different speed than everybody else on the field. And to me, you got to try to find ways to get the ball in his hands. I think he's their best back right now. I'm already there. I think he's their best back. You got one guy who fumbles a lot. You got another guy who I think is pretty good and was actually better than Stevenson last year in Antonio Gibson. But I think the most talented guy they have, now he's smaller. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is going to be willing to run him between the tackles all that much because he's about 200 pounds. But
he did it with Danny.
He did it with Danny. There's a guy in Detroit right now by the name of Jahmyr Gibbs who's built similarly. and I think has a similar skill set. And if he can make that kind of impact for you here in New England, Henderson, that changes your offense. Tom, I have a couple just minor pieces of news. I know you got to go. Can I share these? The team just announced.
Please do, yes.
So the team did just announce that both Marcellus Dial and Jaquelin Roy have been placed on injured reserve. Those both, to me, were rosterable players. Dial went down with a knee injury. Mike Reese is reporting that it's an ACL, so he's done for the year. We saw him go down in practice yesterday, so that's really unfortunate for him. Second-year guy. Again, I thought he was going to be on the team. He's a core special teamer, and he was, one of their top 3 backups. He's been playing a lot on defense with both Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis out. And Roy, to me, is part of a pretty deep, class of interior defenders on the line there behind Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. He was getting a lot of run. When Barmore would take snaps off, because there's a little bit of a plan there for him, too, working his way back from his situation last year, Jaquelin Roy was oftentimes, and Kairos Tonga were really kind of the top 2 fill-ins. So, maybe that means more reps for Josh Farmer, who was just taken in the 4th round by the Patriots out of Florida State. They have Jeremiah Farm still at, like I said, it's actually kind of a sneaky deep defensive tackle room that they have, but that's unfortunate for Roy as well.
Yeah, that is a whack to some of the Patriots' depth, who I'm sure you guys are all still getting familiar with. If the Patriots are good, you'll know your Jaquelin Roys and your Marcellus Dials much better than you do right now. Once they get good, you'll know them. We'll see if they're going to get good or not. We're going to see how good they are. First step tomorrow, Washington Commanders. Join Phil and I for the quick and dirty camp wrap right after it's done and all the normal coverage. Thanks, everybody, for being there. Phil, you're the best. See you soon.
Bye.